What up peeps, long time no see. So for any weird reason you've happened to click on this video and thought to yourself how you could become a better Kalista player with your Rend judgment, then you may have come to the right video. Maybe. Oh for fuck's sake, no, that's shit again. Okay, let's start with the basics of what Kalista's Rend actually does, for those of you that have never played the game and on a YouTube playing spree that just decided to click on random fucking shit. Kalista's Rend is a point-blank auto-targeted spell. Kalista's passive, which is an on-hit effect, applies Rend stacks for each auto-attack you apply. This can also be applied by your Q, Pierce. This ability can also apply spell effects. These spell effects include Spell Vamp, which is reduced to 1/3 of its effectiveness. Royalized Crystal Scepter will apply a 20% slow for 1 second, but you're a retard if you build that item. And Spell Shields will also block this ability, which if you ever come to anyone who's built a Banshee's Veil, just Q them and then Rend, because it's so easy to get past. Now I've got some like fully stat Rend information which I actually can't be bothered to read out, so I'll just flash it on the screen and move on. But don't worry, that's not like, it's just not like you're good enough to actually, you know, get to that many stacks anyway. Okay, let's move on to how much damage your Rend can actually do. First of all, the first spear will always do full damage, full Rend damage, and every spear after that will only do half damage. Basically, because Riot's ability info is actually fucking retarded. If I'll display on screen now, it's actually not worded correctly. But what actually will happen is if you land one spear and then Rend, let's say this does 100 damage, and then you land 2 spears then Rend, it will not do 200 damage, it will actually do 150. This is because the second spear is actually only worth half the damage, and every spear after the first will only be half damage. So once you get to 3 spears, then it will become 200 damage, 250, and so on. Here's a box of the pattern of the Rend damage with a Kalista which is rank 18, I think I did this test at. But here's basically the scaling is how it works. So you got one spear which is 66 damage, which should actually be 68 damage, but Riot code on point. And then every spear after that will deal an extra 34 damage, scaling upwards indefinitely. Well, not indefinitely, but to 264 stacks, I believe, or 54 stacks, somewhere about there. I will now explain the math behind and how you can work out if the Rend kill or not. So let's say you're a level 1 Kalista starting with 79 AD, but I'm actually going to Rend it up to 80 just to make it easy. And you're going to 1v1 cheese this Raven, which has the highest base stats for all ADCs in the game at level 1, with a total of 558 HPs with 80 from starting items, if he doesn't troll, and 35 armor, meaning he gets 26% reduced damage. This is how many spears it would actually take to execute a Draven at level 1. As you can see, one spear will execute him at 50.3 HP, but it's just 50 because there's no such thing as 0.3 HP in the game. But if you notice, every spear after that actually goes up by 19.25, I think it is, for each spear. But the first spear was actually worth 50. Now I don't know why this happened in my game when I live tested it, but this is actually the correct maths behind it. But it might just be something to do with, I might have just jumped when I rendered the first spear with that new freaking keystone, what's it called? The sudden impact one. It might have just been that, I might have fucked up somewhere. But yeah, every spear after that will do half damage. Now, if you look at these values, you can see that you can actually execute a Draven up to like 200 HP if you somehow get 9+ spears in him. This is really good for the early game because obviously you want to level 1 cheese him, which I will demonstrate the level 1 cheese strat at some point in a video if you ever want to try it. If you ever remember these numbers, you will actually just become a first blood god, knowing when to Rend and stuff. But if you can, always get the extra spear in there just in case. If you miscalculated and you end up with fucking letting him live on like 10 HP. But now you're probably wondering, what is the actual point of going through learning all of this? And the point is that you get more kills like this and less kills like this. Just putting it out there that not all Kalista players actually calculate the Rend damage in their head unless you're ramming. But these numbers are actually nice to know if you ever decide you want to do like a first blood or something, like, I don't know, keep it tabbed or something. And yeah, I pretty much guess that wraps up the video. I'm probably gonna roll the intro now and see you in the next one if I ever make it.
Return our speed.